Hey, hi, hello, and welcome in, everybody. Sorry I was a little late there. Had to change the thumbnail because I don't know how to spell. So thanks, Solo, for helping me out there. But welcome in, everybody. Hopefully, you guys are having a great weekend. It's nice and rainy here, so it's kind of blah, but that's okay. We're inside, bright lights. It'll be fine. So, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tanya. We do talk true crime here daily. If that's something that you're into, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the all notifications button there. So, that's all I have to really say about that. That's my intro. That's it. That's it. But welcome in, everybody. I don't even know. I spelled tranquilizer all messed up, didn't I? Hey, Mary Beth. Hey, DM. Catherine. Solo's like, I'm not going to tell Tanya how to spell tranquilizer. I'm glad you did, though. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Ashley. Change your picture. I like it. Welcome in. Welcome in, me. That's not what she said. Hey, Citizen Sleuth. You changed your picture too, didn't you? Oh, no, that was a little while ago, I think. Look at all of you guys. Look at all you guys in here. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, PKC. Hey, DM. Hey, Ashley. I don't even know who said hi to you at this point now. Hey, Michael. Hey, Solo. Hey, Spilled Beans. Hey, Tammy. Hey, welcome in, everybody. West Virginia Hollow Girls here. And Michael's from South Carolina. It's probably nice down there right now by the beach. Hey, Ladybug. Hey, KW. If you live near the beach, I don't know. Every time I associate South Carolina, I just think of the beach because we used to go there when I was a kid. Haven't been to the beach, though, in a few months. It's been a while. It's only been a few months, but since September, actually, we went to the ocean for a little bit. But we're going to talk tonight about Suzanne Morphew. We talked about her case the other night, and Nancy Grace did an episode. So when I was cruising around to see what I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight, I know there's like a couple new cases out. There is a case of the woman and her pastor husband. That's really big right now, but I was like, I want to do Suzanne Morphew for tonight. So I figured we could cover one of the newer cases that are coming out tomorrow because I know that it seems like when there is a case, everybody jumps on it at once. And I'm just like, I'm just going to hang out. I'm just going to hang out and see how it plays out before I jump onto it. Hey, Jessica, welcome in. I loved your video. I was actually going to ask you if I could use it on my next live. You did a video on Sebastian Rogers, like the timeline, and I really like it. I like that. Yeah, I actually know who you are. I was on your page not so long ago. Well, welcome in. Welcome in. So I wanted to actually go over some documents with you guys. Well, not a lot though. I highlighted them too. I highlighted them all pretty for you. But because this case is kind of old. I mean, it's been since 2020. So a lot of people don't even know about the Suzanne Morphew case, I feel like. But then there's other people that know all about it because they've been in it since the beginning. I've been following this case on the channel since last year, but I've been following the case off and on since it started. But I was only following like local news at the time because I didn't know about YouTube news until like Kylie Rodney case. So, or Gabby Petito, I would say. So that's kind of whenever I started watching YouTube and getting more information, or I would have probably had some more information on Suzanne sooner. But as you guys know, she went missing. Her husband, Barry, was arrested for her murder, and then he was subsequently released from jail. So they found her remains, and we're going to go over that. And then Joseph Scott Morgan did a podcast. I thought it was Nance, our girl Nance, but I think it's just Joseph. So, oh, thank you. So Ashley will be excited about that because we're going to listen to little Joseph Scott Morgan tonight. He's got the deep voice. But we'll go over this. So this is the background of this document. This is pretty much, this is the motion for discovery, but this is the document that gives the background of like the whole case, kind of like what the cops are playing off of and working off of. So I thought we would go through this. And then I found a timeline of hers and it was very detailed. And I figured we'd go through that and then we'll watch the podcast. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Let me know. So I'll go through this and let me put on my glasses really quick. And as you can tell, I have on my Sunday Scary shirt. I think I've worn this the last like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I was like, it's going to be my new uniform on Sunday because we deal with scary stuff. Suzanne Morphew of Maysville, Colorado went missing on or about May 9th through 10th, either day, 2020. Initially, and this is, okay, so this is why I highlighted this. So everybody, we know the case as, right? Barry called the neighbor when he couldn't get a hold of Suzanne. and Barry had the neighbor go and check to see if Suzanne was okay. The neighbor then called Barry and was like, "I can't find her," and then he was like, "Well, will you call the police?" Well, and according to this, it's saying the opposite. It says initially a neighbor raised concerns when he was unable to locate her. So is that meaning like the neighbor raised concerns because Barry couldn't find her? Because the way I'm reading that, it almost sounds like the neighbor couldn't find her. Because it says the neighbor contacted her husband, Barry Morphew, as well as the authorities. So I don't know how to take that if it's the way we've been thinking, like, he did go to the neighbor, but it says initially a neighbor raised concerns. So maybe that's what it does mean. Sometimes you just have to read it out loud a couple times. Mr. Morphew owns a landscaping business and was in Denver area working on a project when he received the phone call. Shortly after the phone call to law enforcement, police found Miss Morphew's bike off a dirt road down a ravine near her home. The bike appeared to have crashed or been strategically, I hate those words, placed in that location. Apart from her bike, there were no sign of Miss Morphew. And I do have pictures of that also. Let me see if I can. This is where her bike was found up like the ravine. You can see the bike there. Now, I don't know if this was pushed down the ravine or if it was like pushed up, like hurled up. I don't know how heavy the bike would be, but I'm assuming to a guy, it probably wouldn't be, that hard to throw the bike up in the like trees like that. And it's pretty well hidden. So I feel like if this was Barry, well, if it was, he would have, that would have given him time to like, get away before anybody found the bike, if it is Barry, allegedly. We're talking alleged over here. And then after reading some of this, I was like, man, some of this is in favor, really, of Barry. So here it says, shortly after the call to law enforcement, police found Miss Morphew's bike off a dirt road down a ravine near her home. The bike appeared to have crashed or been strategically placed at that location. Apart from her bike, there was no sign of Miss Morphew. More search and rescue personnel were brought in to assist that evening, but she was never found. A massive search involving numerous law enforcement entities and volunteer community members from nearby Salida ensued. An individual did find Miss Morphew's bike helmet west of her bike off of Highway 50. However, Miss Morphew was never located. To date, she has never been found. And I think they found her bike, like, it was a good distance away. I want to say it was like half a mile. Here we go. It doesn't really tell you the exact proximity, but like it shows you where they live, Morphew residence. And it looks, it appears to me like somebody put her bike and her helmet in their car or their truck, and they literally left the house, threw the bike out, and then went on down the road and threw the helmet out. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Appears to me. After failing to find Miss Morphew, law enforcement suspected foul play. In addition to continuing their search for Miss Morphew, police were actively investigating her disappearance as a potential crime. The Morphew residence, including vehicles, were searched and numerous items of evidentiary value were collected. The police, among other efforts, obtained DNA samples from the scene, including from the bike helmet, and Miss Morphew's vehicle. Mr. Morphew soon became the focal point of law enforcement's investigation. Police searched the contents of his phone, including location data. Data on Mr. Morphew's phone indicated that around the time she went missing. Sorry, that wasn't a period. I just stopped, so I'm going to read that again. Data on Mr. Morphew's phone indicated that around the time she went missing, he turned left on Highway 50, west, passing the location of where Miss Morphew's bike helmet was found on the side of the road, before ultimately turning around to head to Denver for work. Mr. Morphew said he was following an elk and turned around near Garfield, a small community about 3 or 4 miles west of where Miss Morphew's bike was found. He likes the animals, he's an animal guy. He's like, you think it was a lion or a bobcat or whatever he said that got her? Like, no, that's not what got her. Barry, come on. And then now he's chasing elk around. He's just following them. Are elk not fast? Are they slow moving animals to where you could follow the slow moving animal? Now I feel like I have to look that up. This is what happens in this chat. We look up random things. 40 miles per hour. That thing can a mature bull elk can run up to 40 miles per hour. Now, how is Barry just gonna follow the elk? I'm just following it. What do you mean, Barry? Oh, geez. Maybe he had his tranquilizer gun with him. Mr. Morphew said he was following an elk. Wow. Okay. And then it says that and other location data on his phone raised suspicion among investigators. Mr. Morphew also spoke with police on numerous occasions. While he never admitted to any wrongdoing, police had come to suspect his involvement in his wife's disappearance. In the summer of 2020, CBI forensic analysis determined foreign unknown male DNA was found on various items of the crime scene. The interior cushion of the bike helmet, Miss Morphew's bike, the glove box, and backseat of Miss Morphew's Range Rover. Now, I don't know whose DNA that is, or if it was if it was planted, or if it's somebody. I mean, it's someone other than Mr. Morphew, other than Barry. Mr. Morphew, along with other investigative personnel working the scene, were excluded as the source of the sample. So that part, I'm just like, what? Whose sample is that? And where did you get it from? If somebody were to take somebody's DNA, like how would you even go about getting someone's DNA? You know what I mean? Like to place it in on her helmet. I mean, they said helmet, back seat, glove box, interior cushion of the helmet, and her bike. So her bike and then her Range Rover. Now, I wonder if there's any of this foreign DNA that on her clothing from the crime scene that they found or anything like that. It would probably just be the clothing, the gloves, and then they found that I forget how you pronounce it, where it covers like your whole face except for your eyes. Hey, Siobhan. Hey, welcome in, everybody. I just happened to be able to look over. When I'm reading, I can't see the chat, which stinks. Unless I look at the iPad, which is kind of small for the eye there. So they were excluded. So I don't know who that could be. I mean, now it could be anybody really, other than somebody that would be in the system. CBI agent Joseph Cahill was the lead investigator assigned to assist local authorities, the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, in the investigation of Miss Morphew's disappearance. Communication logs with the Forensic Laboratory Division of CBI indicated that Agent Hill had come to believe the DNA sample found in Miss Morphew's car belonged to suspects who may have perpetrated the crime. In turn, CBI analysis determined the partial genetic profile combined with the investigation warranted uploading the sample into CODIS, a nationwide DNA database. CODIS is an acronym for the Combined DNA Index System and is a generic term used to describe the FBI's program of support for criminal justice DNA databases, as well as the software used to run these databases. CODIS contains DNA samples of convicted offenders nationwide, along with unknown samples from unsolved crimes and active investigations. Just like in the Rachel Morin case, they have the sample DNA from Rachel's case and then the sample DNA from the case out in LA, but they don't have the person. They have the DNA, but they can't match it to anybody because that person isn't in the CODIS system. So it's kind of sucks because they have the DNA, but they don't have the person. The letter further indicated that due to the limited genetic profile, this was only a lead and further investigation was necessary. Sometime in late April of 2021, CBI detectives working on the case became aware that the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office was going to arrest Barry Morphew, charging him with murder. Agents Cahill, and that's who was on the case, I think the number one person, and Graham strongly opposed the arrest of Barry Morphew, citing the need for more forensic testing and evidence collection in general. So they said, don't arrest him yet. They both believed the arrest was premature and raised their concerns with Kirby Lewis, head of the Major Crime Division of CBI, who in turn brought those concerns to Deputy Director Chris Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer called Chaffee County Sheriff John Spez and announced against arresting Mr. Morphew at that time. I guess it's going up the chain of command. That's kind of crazy. That's a lot of people. They both believe the arrest was premature. Okay, where were we at? Mr. Schaefer called the Chaffee County Sheriff, that's John, and advised him against arresting Morphew at the time. He expressed the concerns of Agent Cahill and Graham It was the first time in the deputy director's career that he ever called a sheriff about holding off on the decision to arrest an individual. Shortly thereafter, CBI Director John Camper called the sheriff and reiterated the Bureau's concerns with arresting Barry Morphew. Now, there's some stuff in there, I mean, that makes him look like, he makes him look pretty good. The DNA, the officer saying not to arrest him yet. I mean, it's just, it's whenever you read back through it, it's like, what, what were we doing, guys? On May 4th, 2021, Alex Walker authored a 129-page affidavit, and I was reading through that tonight. It's pretty good. In support of the arrest of Barry Morphew on suspicion of homicide, along with other charges. The affidavit states numerous agents from CBI reviewed and edited the affidavit, but failed to state that the Bureau did not support the arrest of Mr. Morphew. Notably, as of May 4th, 2021, law enforcement had still not determined the source of the unknown male DNA found throughout the crime scene. The affidavit failed to inform the judge of said DNA and that Barry Morphew was excluded as the source. Ultimately, Chief Judge Murphy found probable cause and set a no bail hold as requested by the affiant. Chaffee County Sheriff's Office arrested Mr. Morphew on May 5th, 2021. On May 19th, 2021, the People disclosed a CODIS match letter to the defense indicating the unknown source of DNA may be linked to other unsolved out-of-state essays in Tempe, Phoenix, and Chicago. So they're like, this DNA may be linked to these essay, things that are going on over here. I don't know, it's very weird. Ultimately, Chief Judge Murphy found probable cause and set a no bond hold as requested by the affiant. They arrested Mr. Morphew on May 5th, 2021. So almost a full year later. On May 19th, that's where we were just reading, sorry. Let me go down. So that was the essay, so it's okay. Meanwhile, Mr. Morphew remained in custody and able to post bond pending his preliminary hearing and his hearing to determine whether the proof was evident and presumption great. In the months leading up to and during the preliminary hearing, the prosecution had 3 meetings with law enforcement and CBI analysts to discuss the meaning of the CODIS match, its significance, and follow-up investigation to rule out potential sources of the DNA. Information tending to negate the guilt of accused was discussed, but nothing was reduced to writing and disclosed to the defense in any of the 3 meetings. The preliminary hearing commenced on August 9, 2021 and lasted 4 days. I bet Ann Taylor wish she had that preliminary hearing she's been wanting. When I read that, I just kind of thought of her. The People called the following witnesses: Alex Walker, Kenneth Harris, Jonathan Grusink, Derek Graham, Andy Rorick, and Kevin Kobach. The People did not elicit any testimony concerning the foreign male DNA from any of these witnesses. Wonder why. The defense ultimately called Agent Cahill of CBI to present the information to the court. The court reserved the ruling. On September 17, 2021, the court issued its ruling finding that proof was not evident and the presumption not great. The court specifically found that the unknown male DNA profile was particularly significant because while it doesn't prove a stranger abduction theory, it does at least support it. Accordingly, bond was set, which the defendant posted, and all the defendant remained in custody, unable to post bond for a little over 5 months. Defendant is charged with first-degree M along with other counts for alleged M of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, on or about May 9th or 10th, 2020. He had pled not guilty at this point, and he didn't end up going to the jury trial. So that didn't end up happening. And welcome in, everybody. Finally can go back over to the chat. Welcome in. Thank you guys all for being here. Appreciate you. Oh, you guys are so sweet to each other. You're not even listening to me. You don't care about me. I'm like, y'all don't care about me. You're just here for each other, and I love it. No, you're here for me too. I know you are. I was reading the chat, and you guys are just so sweet to each other. And then, of course, and then you've got Sirius coming in with jokes. I just like watching the chat sometimes. It's very cute. Very cute. So that's all I really wanted to read you. I just wanted to read you, like, the background and what the police, well, some of the police were thinking at the time. Let's see, where are we at? So we're at 23. Okay. I'm going to grab my drink, and then we'll go through this timeline, and then this is just gonna be the day of, and then we'll watch, Joseph Scott Morgan, see what he has to say. I was reading the chat, sorry. Okay, so this person, whoever they are on Reddit, they put together a ridiculously great timeline. Like, y'all know me, I love timelines. They're like my favorite thing in the world. I love me a good timeline. I like a visual, like a visual especially. If you can give me a timeline with a visual, I'm there all day long. This person, she she knows what's up. She definitely got the point and took it. She does have, I'm gonna put her link in the chat too. She does have a timeline that goes from, I wonder if I should do this one first. Maybe we'll do, yeah, I think we'll do this one. We're just gonna switch them because this one's first anyway. So Suzanne's last days, and I'm not gonna read like all of the fine print, but I'll read most of it to you. This is gonna give everybody a little idea of what was going on in the relationship, what was going on in the house, what was going on in their life prior to, May 9th, 10th of that year. So it comes in May 4th, 2020. Barry makes a 3-second outgoing call to Suzanne. And that's the first time a logged call in Barry's phone to or from Suzanne since February 7th of 2020. So she hadn't talked to her husband, supposedly. He did delete a couple calls, but supposedly they hadn't talked to each other on the phone since February 7th. And this was May 4th at this point. So he makes sure that he calls her. May 5th, Suzanne drives, and I'm not sure which daughter is which, because there's two, Mallory and Macy as their names. So anytime you see MM1, MM2, I'm not sure exactly who's who. I forget. I forget who was going to college and who was living with them. If you guys remember that, let me know. Because, I'd like to get their names right. Because it just says MM, for their protection. But their names are out there. So it says Barry deleted numerous calls between himself and Suzanne from May 4th and 5th. So I don't know why he was deleting phone calls if they're just phone calls, not text messages. But he said that he was probably doing it to free up space. So you delete just some phone calls from 2 days from one person. Come on, Barry. Even I know you got to go through the Google pictures and delete those. So Suzanne drives MM2 to Gunnison. So is that, does anyone know if Macy or Mallory is a college student? I'll look it up in just a second if not. Let's see. Okay, May 6th at 8:44, Suzanne sends MM2 a text. Good morning, I miss you already. May 6th at 10:13, Suzanne texts, I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. And this is the People's Exhibit 56. And I do have all the documents. I looked them up. So I got all the documents for this case, and these are from the documents. Like, these are from the exhibits that they filed. So I double checked everything. From 1443 to 17, 100 hours, Barry replied, when I'm dead, going to see my savior. And this life on earth is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity. Well, better get ready for that. May 6th at 4:43, like same time she writes back he writes to her, sorry, from Barry to Suzanne. I'm sorry if things went the way they did. I have a problem dealing with the way you accused me of hiding checks. If you think I'm a terrible of a person to hide our accounts and have ones you don't know about, you don't know me. He says, all I do is for you and the girls, all when I'm dead, which won't be long, you guys will be taken care of. Please stop being angry. If I can control my hurt heart, I think I can overcome your distant unlovingness towards me. Honey, I swear it's the hardest thing I've had to do. I love you. I always will. Okay. May 6th. I think it's 5:51, but I'm not sure. Barry to Suzanne, I promise you were wrong about all the crazy thoughts about me. I have always been faithful, always. And then Suzanne writes, is it Libler? Libler? That's her boyfriend on the side. She messages him about how magical the past days have been, and Barry wants a new truck. I mean, I guess, the last few days have been great. They've been so magical. I'm in love. And hey, Barry needs a new cut. Barry wants a new truck. Like, I don't know how that message came across, but it's just kind of crazy. That's kind of a weird one. It says, been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now. I've got veggie soup on for supper. May 7th, 2020. SB puts new tires on Suzanne's bike. And the bike mechanic was interviewed by law enforcement. May 7th, Barry works out at GD's house. Truck log files place Barry at GD's home at 5:13. He doesn't have his own gym. He has that house was huge. May 7th, 2020. I finally got the job. Text from MM1 goes unanswered. Okay. I don't need to read that part. But then Suzanne phone. So on May 8th, this is Suzanne's phone backs up a list of 50 reasons why she wants to leave the marriage on her notes. Who else did that? Aaron Pennington. Was it Aaron Pennington? Yeah, Aaron Pennington. Remember that little guy that he's like, we don't know. He freaking Brian laundried out on us, but he had a list on his notes. Go to my wife, or wait, go to the safe, get the gun, go to my wife, place it here, do this. Remember, he had it all like in steps, really in steps like that. Hey, Mary Beth, she's back. Hey, Aries, welcome in, everybody. It's hard to see the chat whenever I'm reading, so if I don't say hi, I'm thankful you're here. So the things that her list, and some of the stuff I don't understand. So if you guys understand them, let me know. Monkey app. Don't know what that is. Physical A, mental A, while drinking in New York, I keep saying that. New Year's Eve, name calling / said I only need for the money. Woman on Facebook, good for business. Lies about deer, pants unzipped. I don't know what that means, but why is he lying about animals again? Trip to Colorado, pen on hand. Wear bear claw / FaceTime in Arizona, angry. Stalking Sheila and me in the house without telling. Lied and said you needed phone to call Casey. Chased me around resort and threatened. Now we all know the house pings, remember? The pings in the house, and they're thinking that's when Barry may have been chasing Suzanne with the tranquilizer gun coming from her best friend. Her best friend, that's what her best friend seems to believe. And it does look plausible that that's what he was doing. Because the phone, they were pinging all throughout the house very fast. Took phone, not safe alone with you, can't be trusted, oppressive, slams on brakes when angry, threatened to jump out of car, gun, shame and guilt daily for not meeting expectations, nothing to do with infidelity, everything to do with your character and who you are at core. Your lack of control over me, insecurities, a sick relationship, situation with redacted when I'm in, accuse me of going behind your back, got up and left, redacted, so I think it's the girls, and me at the table, left plate, no comment, just to watch TV, act like I'm intruding in the garage. So that must be like his spot, the garage. Okay. Verbal abuse, writing checks for cash out of business account. And that's what they were saying before. Wiring money from individual, is that what that's supposed to be? Or invoice account, individual account, without asking or discussing. Monex, in your name only. Full redacted in, hurting her. So it must be one of the girls. Left 2x on treatment weeks. Some of these I don't know what they mean. She was done. Yeah. Don't care about pregnant possibilities. So was she trying to have another baby? Was she her girls were, I mean, older. I don't hot tub talking to self. Accused me of boyfriend and redacted. And that was on 5/6. So this was just like 4 days, 3 or 4 days before she disappeared. It says accused me of boyfriend. Wrote in Alon book, knew I was looking at phone in bonus. I don't know what that one means either. Some of them I'm like, maybe I'll have to read back through the paperwork. Maybe it'll tell us more, but, and I will. I'll read through all these because these are the affidavits pages. So they give you all the pages. Let me go ahead. Actually, I forgot to put this person's link in the chat. Like, and then I'll put both of them in. Which one was that? Okay. This is the first one I put in is for the newest timeline. And then this one is the one we're reading right now. So that way, if you want a whole timeline of the whole case, it'll give you one. So on May 8th, 8:43, I will continue to do your invoicing when you need to. It says, when FBI agents showed Barry these text messages during interviews in 2021, he said he did not think Suzanne was serious. May 8th, 9:28, Suzanne texts sister about Barry's abuse. Suzanne sent a text to Melinda. It's hard dealing with the harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect. He's also been abusive emotionally and physically. There's so much. Then it's ... I went through a period of acceptance and I feel more angry now. Anger at what I've allowed. Yeah, women get angry because we only have, I mean, no offense to the guys, but women only have a certain amount of years and they can't be wasting it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If that's something that you want, So, then at 10:55, so like an hour, a little hour late, over an hour later, it says, I love you, Suzanne. May 8th, Suzanne texts Salida, Stove and Spa about getting the hot tub fixed. Needs that hot tub fixed. May 8th, Barry's iPhone receives an SMS message associated with the unknown device. So SMS means like, doesn't that mean it's like blocked though? I didn't know that what comes in. The SMS is like the green, right? Like if it's an iPhone, I don't know. I think it's like different if it's an Android though. The second device was first used on November 30th, 2019 and was associated with Barry's iPhone 91 times since then, compared to 1,701 associations with the primary user ID since November 19th. Okay. Then May 8th, Moonlight Pizza and phone calls. That's when they meet up at Tailwind's site before going to pick up pizza. I'm not going to read through this stuff right here, but May 8th, 20 Facebook friends request, 3 men named Jeff, Barry's lurking at the river. And on January 8th, Barry's phone searched the Facebook help page. I can't reset my Facebook password because I can't access the email or mobile phone number on my account. And that's in the iHelp Center. Barry was asked about his phone pinging down by the river during the Facebook post on Friday night and asked if he was outside. Barry said, I could have been. I don't remember. I chase critters around the house all the time. There's a bear that got in the garage. Oh my Lord, I forgot about the bear. He completely destroyed my garage and I've been looking for him ever since he came in the garage because I'm going to get him. I wasn't going to shoot him, but I was just going to scare him off, and coyotes are always outside. Oh, okay, we need to start pen and paper. Someone start writing these. We've got lion cat. What is it called? Bobcat? I don't even know what they're called. Not bobcat. That's like a machine. What are they called? First thing he thought got to her. Now he's talking elk. He was following an elk. Bears in the garage. The chipmunks that he was chasing. Is there any coyotes? You know what we haven't heard? A cat or a dog. A regular old animal. You know what I mean? Like, an animal people have in their home. Chipmunks, yeah. I'm just reading the chat. I always get really quiet, and that means I'm reading the chat. No, no, CJK, that's the same creepy husband. And I think there's a picture of it actually on here. So then these are all just incoming phone calls, outgoing call. Barry's phone received a call. Barry's phone registered power on, and that was at 6:46 May 9th. So this is the day before or the day that she disappeared. May 9th at 7:22 to 7:39, Barry's at Tailwind's work site. And then May 9th, Suzanne's texting with SO, discussing Sheila's daughter's wedding on Sunday. On May 9th, Sheila sent 2 snaps to Suzanne in the morning, which were opened later in the day/evening. Sheila sent 3 more snaps to Suzanne, which were never opened/received as reflected on Sheila's cell phone. So they can look at her phone and they could tell if if her Snapchat message had been opened or not opened. The parakeets, actually. Yeah, he said, he had the tranquilizer gun because, he liked to shoot the deer with it to take their antlers, which is illegal. It's like, they people that commit crimes like this, they'll always admit to something smaller, you know what I mean? Like, "Yeah, I have the tranquilizer gun because I shoot the deer with them. I take their antlers. It's cool." No, 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 sir, it's not. Um, so then they had, like, a text exchange here. I won't read through all of that. But, it says at May 9th at 11:14, Suzanne received a second password reset message from Facebook. Previous reset was while Barry was down by the river on the evening of the 8th. May 9th, Barry tells Morgan Gentile he could bury a body and it would never be found. When questioned about the job sites on Saturday, May 9th, 2020, Morgan stated she recalled an odd comment made by Barry. Morgan explained that after they completed the beach at the river house, she rode with Barry to the next site. Morgan stated she commented pigs could eat an entire human body in 2 hours. Barry commented that he would be able to bury a body and it would never be found. Well, if you're guilty, Barry, guess what? They found her. Wasn't looking for her there, but they found her. Guess who's alone again? That's another message at 11:42. Suzanne sent a message to Libler at 11:42 a.m. that stated, "Guess who's alone again?" Libler told agents that the message meant they were free to talk, and Suzanne was not surprised that Barry left her home alone at home. Wasn't the 9th? That was Mother's Day. Was it the 9th? Mother's Day? Yeah. May 9th, dead turkey hunt or Barry takes down his trail cameras. So, it says, does he return to the area? He does. We don't discuss what he's doing. So then on May 9th, Barry leaves the home again. And this is all before she went missing. Well, we don't know exactly when she went missing, but it was between May 9th and 10th. After texting, Barry drove by TK's house to see the backhoe, but did not get out and touch to buy it. And that's May 9th. He goes over there and he looks at it. Barry used a backhoe to dig a large hole in his front yard, filled it with items to include furniture, and cover it over, planting alfalfa on top of it. Now, that's a little suspicious, Barry. Even though she wasn't found there, that's real suspicious. If my wife or my husband or my partner was missing, there's no way I would be digging up a hole in my front yard or my backyard. That's just one way to get the cops looking at you. And then filling it with furniture? Like, what? Who does that? What kind of decomp is that? Like, that's not a banana peel, sir. It's a couch. Like, what are you doing putting furniture in there? It's just very weird. And then Barry at DSI replacing Bobcat Blade. Oh, there he is. Can't really tell it's him, but that's him. Suzanne sends a sunbathing pic to Libler, last proof of life, and this is on May 9th, 14 hours and 3 minutes. 2:03? Does that make 2:03 it says, I think? I always second guess myself when it comes to military time. Um, Barry said he had to go to work, but agreed to see the photo of Suzanne's last proof of life, and that's the last picture. They're saying, that she had on her phone that she sent to him. May 9th at 14:11, Suzanne sends last LinkedIn message to Libler. I'm on WA. And then it says Libler sent a response message at 2:39, 2:46, and 2:47 that Suzanne did not answer. Now that's a little much though, because if they're supposed to be sneaking around, maybe she, I'm not saying I'm saying that's probably when she was unalived or she was being chased. But if she wasn't, I'd be like, stop texting me, man. My husband's right here. That's why I stopped texting you or something. You know what I mean? Like he came back home. I don't know. Just very crazy. Hey, Otto. How you feeling, Otto? Yeah, right. AB math. Yeah. Can you believe that? Mother's Day of all days. May 9th at 14:26, Barry texts Suzanne, done, headed back. So look, yeah, right there. Yeah, he sent a message at 2:39, 2:46, 2:47. At 2:26, he's saying he's coming back home. So that's why she wasn't probably writing him back. You know what I mean? Like, and she was putting it on her LinkedIn. She was talking through LinkedIn. So I mean, that's pretty smart on her part because I wouldn't think to check anyone's LinkedIn. Now I am. Let me go get Vincent's phone. I'm totally kidding. I've never looked in his phone. At 12 or 2:31 p.m., Barry texts Suzanne, "Did you leave?" When was this? When was he heading back home? Done heading back at 4 or 2:26. And then 5 minutes later, he's asking, "Did you leave?" That was a quick trip home. May 9th, Libler messages Suzanne. She does not respond. First unread. Messages from Lincoln show they were talking about how Suzanne is in love with Jeff before she went missing. 2:43, Barry's phone and F350 per telematics arrive at the Morphew residence. May 9th at 2:44, shooting chipmunks. Barry had a 22 in the moments when Suzanne ceased to communicate with everyone she loved in the world. And this is the picture of the house. Like, you can see someone it appears to me like they're running around. Even the times are like, I mean, they're right against each other. 4:06 to 4:09, 4:10 to 4:11, 4:12 to 4:23. And then we've got, where am I at? 14:45, 14:47, these are 14:44. Both of them are. Like moving fast. Now, I'm wondering if the last spot that she was, if that's where he actually, shot her with the tranquilizer. Because we all know she was shot with a tranquilizer gun. It was in her femur bone. They extracted it. So, and Barry just happened to mention that he has a tranquilizer gun because criminals can be dumb, allegedly. May 9th, Libler says, "Hey, your weather looks great." Second unread. May 9th, Jeff sends another message to Suzanne with no response. Third unread. May 9th, 16 hours of 17:30. Defense says Barry was at Salida Stove and Spa. I guess, that's where he was. Barry parks his truck in the garage at 16:44. 17:33, Barry's truck system manually rebooted. Barry attempted to disable the truck's GPS and sync features. Damn it, Barry. Why'd you try to do that for? Why are you trying to do that, Barry? Why are you turning stuff off? He's like, "I'm good. I don't want this to sink. I don't want the GPS to tell on me." If this would have been this year, I would have said he was watching the Murdoch trial, but he wasn't. Um, so he tried to, reboot it. And then it says, "Even our agents in Quantico at our lab, they cannot explain what caused this action to happen." SO sends 2 Snapchats to Suzanne that were never opened. And then at 21:25, Barry's truck goes into reverse, backs 96.8 feet down the driveway. Just drives up, parks, pulls out of the garage a little bit. And it's right here at 9:26. That's the location of Barry's truck. Chairs for laying in the sun are here. Location of Barry's truck from 4:47 until 9:25. And then he moves it from here, the 98 or 96.8 feet over to here. Okay. And then the Bobcat and the trailers over there, they said. Yeah, I see it. Very big driveway. May 9th, Barry's phone exit out of airplane mode. Barry's phone comes out of airplane mode at the Morphew residence. So he turns his phone into airplane mode and then turns it off and then turns it back on. So that is the first, that's up until the day that she's unalived. And we'll go through the next part on our next live. Let me see. It's not that long, actually. Let me see where we at. Okay. Let's see. All right. We'll go through these kind of quick. So this is May 10th. Barry's phone exits out of airplane mode. Barry's phone comes out of airplane mode at the Morphew residence. That's where we left off. At 2:53, outgoing call on Suzanne's phone. Possible glitch. Barry has no digital footprint for about 4 hours until 3:25 to 3:48. Barry's truck door opened and closed. 3:56, Barry's phone display came on and unlocked. That means he held his phone up to his face, I'm assuming. At 3:58, 2 minutes later, Barry's phone moves from the home to where Suzanne's bike's found. 4:10 to 4:23, last activity from Suzanne's iPhone. 4:32, Barry's phone goes back into airplane mode. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't ever use airplane mode unless I'm on an airplane. I don't know about y'all though. 4:32 to 5:14, chasing elk or staging evidence. Barry's trip to Garfield adds an approximate 5 miles each way to his morning trip, which places Barry and his vehicle in the direction the helmet was discarded, west from the bicycle. And this is where I guess the helmet was found, but I don't know if it's like this blue thing right here that's like, or if it's not even pictured in here, this like blue thing right there. I have no clue. I don't see a helmet, but this is the spot where they found it. Okay, I wanted to make sure I was on the right screen. And then this is the exhibit that they showed. 5 o'clock, Morgan Gentile hears Barry's truck on Highway 50. It says she didn't see the truck, but that's his truck. Has a very distinctive exhaust. 5:14 to 6:56, Barry on the road to Broomfield. That's when his phone exits airplane mode. 8:10, this is when he starts dumping trash everywhere, like a Brian Koberger move. He's got 8:10 trash dump number 1. And this is one of the bus stops. This bus stop is in the middle of like nowhere, it looks like. Yeah. And then he went to a Holiday Inn Express in Broomfield, and then he dumped some trash there. Yeah. 8:41 to 8:46, I made it to Broomfield. Call me when you get the chance. That's what he texted to Suzanne. Even though he had texted her earlier and said, "Did you leave?" Nothing happened with that. 8:46, Barry carries items into the Holiday Inn Express. So when he walked into the hotel, he was carrying 2 white trash bags, a khaki backpack, a pair of boots, a dark colored item, and a piece of clothing with blue teal coloring. You can see all the stuff in his hands there. He looks like he's in distress right here. For some reason, he looks like he's lifting up something super heavy, but he's not. Like, he's just not, but his face is so red. Um, Barry exits the hotel room at 10:06, and he's carrying a charcoal long-sleeve shirt, 2 white bags, and a pair of boots. At 10:20 to 10:41, McDonald's trash dump number 3, and he really shoves it in there. This one, he goes in and he throws it in, and then he shoves it down. He wants to make sure it's really, really in that garbage. And they have pictures of him because it's McDonald's. McDonald's don't play. Men's Warehouse trash dump number 4 at 10:47. So he's literally 10:41 popping across the street, going to the dumpster. Barry said that he thought he was cleaning his truck. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was probably getting crap out of my truck, like I said, which I've done my whole entire life. Of course you have. Since you've had a vehicle, we would hope you don't have everything you've ever owned that you left in your vehicle still in there. He was in a lie. He was caught in a lie. So then Barry calls MG. Barry called. He was out of breath, panting, but fatigued, kind of like hungover, but he doesn't drink. Honestly, when I hung up, I thought to myself, he sounded like he had the worst night of his life. Barry called Morgan and explained she needed to bring an additional person because of the amount of work needed to repair the wall. She agreed she would bring another contractor, Jeff Puckett. Barry never provided an explanation why he left early or why he did not pick her up. At 11:23 to 11:56, Barry's back at the Holiday Inn Express. Barry carries disorganized papers in a binder. Half an hour later, he carries out an organized binder. He's organizing himself. It still looks unorganized to me. I mean, a little better. Just looks like he put the papers better together. But it doesn't look like they're in the binder very well. 11:57 to 12:25, Barry's at the work site. Barry spent 28 minutes removing a few blocks from a wall. Went all the way there to work, got the hotel room for what? To remove a couple bricks from a wall and say you're leaving? Then we've got a trash dump number 5, Holiday Inn Express. Just throwing stuff away everywhere. 12:42 to 18:03, Barry remains in his hotel room. He sends an outgoing message to Suzanne and says, "Call me." Now, at this point, whenever have you left? Where are you at? Why haven't you called me? I mean, I think I'd be calling and I would be doing a missing persons report at this point. At 10:20 or May 20th, I'm sorry, May 10th, 2020. The exact time's unknown. Libler wishes Suzanne a happy Mother's Day. He commented that it would be a hard day because she missed her own mother. 15:50 to 17:45, Suzanne is discovered missing. Barry remains in his hotel room, tells the Ritters he's at the work site. So when he says he's at the work site, he's really just chilling in the hotel room with the air conditioning going and watching, old reruns of Forensic Files. At 3:50, his daughter texts, "I'm just so sad and redacted, and I text mom for Mother's Day and she still hasn't answered, and I'm scared for her, and dad probably got in a big fight." Now, remember that, Mallory Macy. You said you guys are, probably got in a fight. And then they, redacted that statement. 5:15, JR makes her first call to Barry, reporting Suzanne's disappearance and the girl's concern. Barry sends her back to the house to look for the bike. That's when 5:45, he receives a second call from the Ritters reporting Suzanne's bike is not in the garage. Barry asks the Ritters to call the police and report Suzanne missing. May 10th, 17:55 to 18:10. Barry's leaving Broomfield. Deputy Brown is dispatched. Possible missing person who also has cancer. So then at 6:03, Barry exits his hotel room wearing a black shirt, carrying a khaki backpack. At 6:05, Barry makes an outgoing call. 6:05, Deputy Brown attempts to contact Barry. Call is unanswered. 6:06, Barry pulls his truck in front of the hotel and enters the lobby. He speaks to the clerk about leaving tools for his crew and exits the lobby to return to his truck. 6:09, Barry makes an outgoing call to Morgan Gentile. 6:10, Barry re-enters the lobby carrying 2 shovels and places them beside the front desk. He makes subsequent trips, placing more tools in the same spot. Why couldn't you take them to the job site and leave them there? Shovels. You're going to carry them into the hotel lobby? I'd be so mad if I worked in that hotel. I'd be like, you better get your dirty shovels up out of here. That's crazy. 7:10, Deputy Brown again attempts to contact Barry, and then Barry answers because he probably is like, I better answer this phone. May 10th, Chaffee County finds the bike. May 10th, Barry arrives at CR 255 and US 50. Barry is heard asking if deputies saw any cats on the road, and a deputy says, not recently. May 10th, CCSO Commander Avila brings Barry into the house for scent items. Barry does not call out or look for his wife in the home. So he hasn't been in the home because he's been at work, right? Work site. He gets to the home, and instead of going into this huge house, I mean, this house was, I don't know how many square feet, 10,000 or more. Instead of going in there, calling on the intercoms, because at that point you're going to need intercoms, and saying, Suzanne, where are you? Where are you? He just walks in like he already knows she's gone, already missing. Like, what? You don't even try to look for her. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe she let someone borrow her bike. You never know. Well, we don't know. So then May 10th, after 2147, barefoot prints in the Bobcat bucket. It says here that Deputy Brown went with him to examine and found that the cutting blade on the bucket of the Bobcat appeared to be newly replaced along with the nuts and bolts. MJ and JP smell chlorine and have the wrong tools in Broomfield. It looks like Barry had removed top caps. That was it. He also did not have the tools we need, like a packer or gravel. Okay. That's all of it. I actually went through that pretty quicker than I thought. But there's a lot more to this case. That's just the timeline that I got for you guys. But whoever that, I put the link in the chat too. This person did a really good timeline. Like, I'm gonna put her link back in there because, oh man, yeah, that actually had something about Chris Watts on the internet today. It was just like, what is his life like now or something? And I was like, probably pretty crappy. But we'll listen to Joseph Scott Morgan. I have it on podcast, so I'll put up like different overlay pictures. That way you can like just see something different. It is on Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. I don't know why they put it on her channel, but they do. So I put her in the thumbnail because I didn't know if she'd be making her appearance. I was listening through it earlier today, but I don't know if she does. But remember, tomorrow is Monday, and Elizabeth Vargas, she comes on News Nation. So tomorrow night we'll play it on the live. But she's having a whole interview with Seth Rogers, Sebastian Rogers' dad, and his new spokesperson. And then on Tuesday, they'll be on Nancy Grace. So y'all, I'm ready for that. Y'all, I'm ready. So Ashley, you got your man tonight. You got the whole deal, whole kit and caboodle. So I'll play this here. If you guys don't mind just taking a second, hit the like button. If you appreciate the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you here. Also, let me know, I forgot to say this in the beginning, let me know if everyone got their prizes today. I did put the gift cards, like I sent them out to everybody that won. So if you're in the chat on replay, because I don't think anyone's in here that won, let me know that you got your gift card and everything. Okay. Because we put those out today. Also, we gifted out 15 memberships. So if you got a membership, hopefully you'll continue and want to keep your membership after the month's over. But congratulations to the winners, and thank you guys so much. We'll have to do another giveaway very soon because it sounds like fun. I was thinking about actually maybe doing one for the store. Maybe we'll do one tonight. So let me go ahead and get this up here. And then I'll put like an overlay over, like I said. It may be a little loud. I can't really control the volume, but it should be right to the point where they're getting ready to talk.
Like more time in range and a lower A1C. Get started at Dexcom.com.
Dexcom data on file 2023. If your glucose alerts and readings from the G7 do not match symptoms or expectations, use a blood glucose meter to make diabetes treatment decisions. For a list of
just so that we can kind of frame this with Joseph Scott Morgan. "4 years. Roughly, that's 48 months, just so that we can kind of frame that out just for a quick second. 4 years I've been waiting. I've been waiting to find out what happened to Suzanne Morphew. Well, the day has arrived. I can't say I'm completely satisfied, but I felt like it was time to sit down, that Dave and I have a conversation for a special episode that's going to deal with this complex scientific evidence that we have laid out before us right now. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Dave, let me reach something real quick before we dig into this, and I'm going to give you 5 names. I'm going to give you 5 names, and these are names that we need to keep at the forefront of our mind.
All right.
When talking about Suzanne Morphew. They are as follows: Dr. Emily Russell Kinsley, Dr. Leon Kelly, Dr. Allison Cooper, Dr. Megan Kleinsner, and Dr. Jared Murdoch. Dave, 5 physicians. 5 physicians signed off on what amounts to a 4-page report that we're looking at right now. And I'm sure that everybody else around the country will eventually have this in their hands. And as I always tell everybody that talks to me, don't believe what I'm saying. Don't.
Look it up.
Go look it up for yourself, man. Go check it out. All right.
Before we go too much further.
Thank you, Joseph Scott Morgan. Thank you. I say that all the time. Don't believe me. If I sound funny, look it up.
Why were there so many doctors involved? And today we're dealing with the death of Suzanne Morphew, who went missing on Mother's Day 4 years ago. Can you believe it's been? We're that close, Joe. We're a couple of weeks away from Mother's Day.
Yeah, we are that close. We certainly are, and
I started covering this as a missing persons case when that's why this is so important to me.
Last time I'm going to interrupt, but this is the guy this guy that's talking. This is the robot guy. Do you guys remember the robot on Nancy Grace's podcast? He actually has a little more umph to him tonight. But he literally sounds robotic. We listened to him one time read a whole PCA out. It was ridiculous. We shouldn't have done that to ourselves. But he actually has inflection tonight in his voice. Very strange for us to hear that.
I remember the day.
This is Isabel's
I remember
boyfriend.
Sitting there and talking. It was immediately after Mother's Day.
Yep.
Nancy had me on.
Yes.
And on her show, and I was chatting about this, and I remember distinctly thinking about it. And this is when they found the bicycle. And I think they had the helmet, if I'm not mistaken.
They found the bike the day of. The day she went missing, they found the bike that night. It was the helmet they found a couple of days later and a mile away.
Right. And it was dispersed. And I remember talking on air to Nancy about this case at that time. You said missing persons. And, what I was thinking is, first off, how in the heck did this bicycle get so far off the road? But from a forensic standpoint, was there any kind of trace evidence that you could recover off of this thing? Points of contact where people are putting their hands, people's hands other than Suzanne Morphew's, where you could find DNA evidence of some type. Was there any blood evidence on there? Because, when I hear bicycle, I'm thinking bicycle versus motor vehicle, and it's a strike, and guess who always loses in that? It's going to be the person on the bicycle. But there was no body.
No,
there was no body, and this thing is like concealed. I mean, it's off. It's not like it's just like down in the ditch. This thing is like it's off the road.
The bike,
and so
it was down a ditch. Actually, it was on the side of a cliff. I'm not kidding. When Now, backing up to the day we did this, it was the weekend. We had gone through Mother's Day, where we have a missing person. We've got very suspicious activity and a bike that is found that night. And the bike, it was found halfway down a cliff. Now, if you've ever done any mountain biking, there are some dangerous areas, but this was just off of a road and it had gone down, but the bike showed no damage. The bike shows no damage whatsoever. It had been it rolled down the hill and stopped, but the helmet's not there. They don't find the helmet right away. They're looking for things, but the things that Suzanne Morphew, and by the way, she was not a longtime mountain bike enthusiast. It was a fairly new thing. She was a cancer patient.
Right. Yeah.
And that actually came into play in the autopsy. because
Yeah, it did.
when they found a piece of medical hardware, it was a port that they used to administer medication.
Yep.
But it was reported that you have a woman missing 50-ish, I think she was 49 at the time, and cancer patient. And they're setting it up, say, maybe she just decided to take herself out and do away with herself. That was how it was kind of being put out there to some. But when her bike was found that night, it was found halfway down a cliff. Her helmet's nowhere to be found. The other thing she normally took when she was biking, left in her car.
Like, I don't know. I wonder why they thought it was a good idea to put the bike in one spot and the helmet in another spot. Normally, your helmet is connected to your head. So let's say you got hit by a vehicle. The helmet is not going to fly off of your head. It's strapped to it's strapped there for a purpose. It's a helmet. So I just don't know why the person, like if it's Barry or whoever did this, why the person didn't get rid of the helmet, completely get rid of it. Maybe along with the trash he was getting rid of everywhere. 6 dump sites.
Immediately, people start looking at the inner circle,
Yeah.
Things look suspicious. So we started looking at Barry, her husband, Barry Morphew.
And we've always, we've talked about that extensively, about the circle of intimates, those people that would be in her orbit. Because David, I got to tell you, you've heard that old term, they got a pipe in sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful area. However, it's not like you've got random acts of violence that are going on all the time.
Right.
And I know where her body was found, that there was, there were other cases of people that had been found apparently adjacent to that location. And they used all kinds of very theatrical terms, killing field, I heard somebody say, and there were a boneyard. There were all kinds of things. But come on, let's get real.
Yeah.
All right. This is not, you're not going to have somebody that's going to go out and maliciously kill this woman, stranger on stranger kind of event, and so automatically as an investigator, you're going to look, we want to.
Let me ask you this, Joe. You find the bike. The bike the bike is down a hill. There is no body. I've had a bike wreck before. And by the way, my body was near the bike. It wasn't close, but it was nearby, because I wasn't dead. I was alive and I walked up the hill. Now, my bike stayed at the bottom of the hill, but I was found, okay? She wasn't found. They found her helmet days later and a mile away. It immediately says, did somebody run her off the road and then take her body and throw the bike down the cliff? Did they run her off the road and she crashed down there and they went down there and got her body up and took her off? I mean, so it makes no sense for her bike to be found halfway down a cliff, but there's no sign of any grass being trampled. There's no sign of anybody walking back up the hill, any sign of people walking down. There's nothing in the dirt indicative of a car running her off the road, or, by the way, not even trail in the dirt. By the way, this is that night. This is 7:30 that night. They think she went biking at 8 o'clock that morning.
Yeah, there's a reason they're called hit and run, because when people hit a subject, whether they're a pedestrian or a bicycle or even another motor vehicle, they leave.
Right.
They don't stay around to collect a body and haul it off somewhere, which is, just so super bizarre in this case. And I think that's one of the things that had us all kind of befuddled.
But there was one thing that was said that night. Her husband, he had a good idea. Mountain lion. Mountain lion.
Yeah.
Mountain lion. Let's talk about that.
When he meets.
So mountain lion. I love how mountain lion. If it was a mountain lion, and Joseph Scott Morgan talked about this, with Nancy Grace, and he makes a great point. The bobcat or lion cat or whatever this thing's called, not a bobcat, that's a machine. That's what I keep thinking because he used one. But this animal would have dragged her. There would have been BLOD. There would have been things of that nature. They would have saw movement in the ground. No, Barry.
The cops at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time it was
that night. PKC.
They found the bike at 7:30. He was on his way back from wherever he claimed to be. Bottom line, he suggested, well, a mountain lion. How about a mountain lion?
I knew that was BS the moment I heard it. And not necessarily BS because it's coming from him. I thought that it was an absurd suggestion. Let's let's roll with bear as well
Yeah.
while we're at it, right?
You know, I had to study mountain lions, Joe. You know what I found?
What's that?
Mountain lions are severely territorial.
Yes.
They also don't run in packs. And
No.
one mountain lion stakes out an area, and that is his or hers.
They are solitary.
And that's it.
And the reason I
Just
knew
like
this,
regular indoor cats, I guess.
going back many years, is that I actually was in the presence of a presentation, probably the most and by my standard, one of the most ghastly things I've ever seen. I was actually at the American Academy of Forensic Science meeting, and there was an odontologist from, you guessed it, of all places, Colorado.
Wow.
And he presented a case that he had worked of a jogger, and I'm going to get this wrong probably, but I think it was in Boulder.
Okay.
Where this young lady had taken off down a trail, and guess what she ran under? She ran under an outcropping of rock and this trail is set up for people to walk and run on. And there were two guys in the parking lot that left after her. It was like a lunchtime jog kind of thing.
Right.
They head out, and when they get probably 2 to 3 minutes into their run, Dave, they're by that outcropping.
Yeah.
And the mountain lion has his teeth sunk into her back in the middle of the trail, and they scared the thing off and left her.
Holy moly.
The injuries were so ghastly.
Holy
and this
moly,
is the other
he
thing
said.
that I took away from that. Based upon what I was seeing, you know what you would see a lot of? Blood. There would be a blood trail. You would see perhaps evidence of drag marks. And I'm not talking about just like where you're carrying dead weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about if an individual had been attacked in the middle of the road and drug off and they were not dead, they'd be fighting. It's just a natural response. And you would see brush torn down, all kinds of things. And you just, that wasn't coming up. And so it wasn't an wild animal attack. It just didn't register. But I do know this. We have finally got an actual autopsy report. Listen, it's not robust, but it's more than we had yesterday. We knew that it was coming. But I got to tell you, for our purposes here on Body Bags, it reveals quite a bit. I'm really interested to get into this.
Wherever you're listening.
Own Easy Breathe ventilation. Unalienable burning environments are designed to help you.
Flipping through the commercials. There you go.
Dave, I couldn't believe it a couple months back. Well, I guess we were in 2023. It's more than a couple months when the news came out that they had discovered at that time what they believed to be Suzanne Morphew's remains.
Mm-hmm.
And then they confirmed that they were, in fact, her remains.
Right.
Because I got to tell you, Bubba, I was thinking they're never going to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I go back to this idea of isolation because this place is so very isolated. And there's any number of locations that she could have been hidden because this is not densely populated. I don't know if people understand how vast this area is out there. And the fact that these remains were found is just dumb luck as far as I'm concerned. And I thought about it at that time. Right. I talked to other people about it, and we came to that consensus. And the fact that they have them, wow, they didn't see that coming. I bet whoever did this, because I got to tell you, I'll go ahead. I'm not burying the lead here, but I'll go ahead and tell you right now what we're looking at. They've ruled her death as a homicide, but there's a few qualifiers here that we're going to have to get into.
Really curious as to how you're going to do this, Joe, because look, just to give you an idea, and if the refresher course on the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, right before she went missing, Mother's Day of 2020, on May the 6th, she sent a text message to her husband of 25 years, Barry Morphew. By the way, they knew each other in high school. He was a high school baseball player, got drafted out of high school by the Toronto Blue Jays. She was a school teacher, and they got married, had two girls. Once she had the girls, she decided to take time off from her teaching duties to raise her girls, and Barry started a landscape company. They ended up moving to Colorado as one of the daughters, Mallory, I believe, went to college there. And so
Mallory's
here we are.
The one in college.
It's May 6, 2020. They've been out in Colorado a couple of years. Some people said it was to save their marriage. The marriage was not doing well. And sure enough, May 6th, 3 days before she goes missing, 4 days rather, she sends a message to him. I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. Suzanne Morphew wrote that to her husband 4 days before she went missing. Now, the reason this is important is because during their investigation, police found this. But what they found is that Barry Morphew had gone through great effort to delete that text message from
Why'd
her
you
phone
delete
and
it,
from
Barry?
his. But the thing is,
why would you do that?
Yeah. May 9th, the morning, according to court documents, 59 communications were exchanged between Suzanne Morphew and a man she was dating. She had been seeing somebody behind her husband's back for a couple of years. They'd gotten together in New Orleans in Florida. He was from Michigan. Somebody she had known for many, many years, a long time. She just had her fill of Barry Morphew. Barry Morphew, you're going to find out, was charged with murder. Not today, not yesterday. All the evidence put together led police to Barry Morphew, and they arrested Barry Morphew and charged him. However, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the guy, one of the lead detectives on the case, at the time they charged and arrested Barry Morphew, he was against it. Don't do it. It's the wrong move. We do not have enough evidence to do this.
Sorry to keep interrupting, but I was just looking at this picture and look at how close they are. I don't even know if they're that close in a grid search, like a regular grid search for a missing person. Like, they have to be that close together because she's literally nothing. Like, there's nothing left of her. I think it filled like 6 bags. I mean, wow. They are really looking too. I just wanted to point that out to you guys.
And sure enough, as they started going through the motions in court, they got it moved out of Chaffee County into a different county, because of the attention and the lack of people to choose from in Chaffee County. And once they got into a new county, they're getting ready to start arguments. We're getting ready to follow this case. And all of a sudden, the defense pleads with the judge to drop this, get this out, kick it out. Judge looks over everything, and sure enough, the judge dismissed it. We're talking a couple of weeks away from getting this trial underway. The judge dismissed the case against Barry Morphew in April of 2022. The 11th Judicial District Attorney filed the motion to dismiss without prejudice, which means it can be charged again.
Yeah. And I knew that was, they have that in their back pocket. Yes. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, this situation is far from over, but I think that one of the things that we have to consider is now that this assessment has been done, we've got little beams of light that are now beginning to kind of spread out and show forth here about what do they have to work with.
Well, the arrest warrant, when they got him, is your light ray. I read it just before we taped this today.
Please, hold forth, man.
The things they found inside that house, the evidence they found that made them want to charge Barry Morphew after the autopsy report today made incredible sense, Joseph Scott Morgan.
It sure
incredible
did.
sense. They found, the gun you used to fire darts that tranquilize animals.
Yes. Yeah.
Found one of those. Yeah. They found a cap that goes on the end of that needle in the dryer, in the laundry. Why would you have that unless you'd recently shot one? They found an unspent .22 caliber shell, or a bullet rather. Found a few other things around the house too, that now that we actually have something to talk about with regard to an autopsy, it makes a lot of sense. So I got to ask you, Joe, they only found bones, right? That's all we found, because she had been from May of 2020 until September of 2023. Last September, they found her bones, right?
Yeah, they did. And at the time, we didn't know what the status of it was. All right. Because there were commentators that came out and said that, there's a potential that we're still going to have what's referred to as soft tissue. And what that means is that you'll still have skin, you'll have muscle, you'll have fat, and all of the components, even if they're in an advanced state of decomposition, that was being put forth. I've never held that opinion. I always felt as though that her remains would essentially have been skeletonized. And my thought was, are they going to be scattered to the point where you're not going to have a complete skeleton? And I cannot say that they do in fact have a complete skeleton, but they've got enough. And it's painstaking work, because when you're in kind of a, let's see, how can I put this? When you're out in an area like this and you have a body that is in what they have framed, Dave, as a shallow grave. Her body is not just laid on top of the earth.
Right.
She's in a shallow grave. Now, we don't have any specifics in the autopsy report as far as greatest depth of this defect in the ground, which I'd be very keen on knowing. I want to know, because the deeper the hole is in the ground, that goes to time, doesn't it? Because it takes more time. And what I did,
They were saying in the autopsy report, the autopsy report, they were saying that they found animal bones along with Suzanne's bones. So they feel like whoever did this, I'm just gonna say whoever, they buried the body of Suzanne and then they put animal carcasses around it or on top of it to attract animals, because I guess they'll get bored like after they eat whatever's on top and they won't dig. They won't dig in and try to dig up what's buried. So if that's the case, that's really some planning. But we know Barry loves the animals.
here, and you might find this quite interesting, Dave. The soil out there is not like going into your grandma's tomato garden and turning over, topsoil and loam and manure and all that. No, this is hard work that you're talking about. It would require exertion. As a matter of fact, I'd heard one fellow in an interview say that if you're going to show up to dig a hole out here, you need a pickaxe with you. And
oh my goodness,
God, I was thinking a pickaxe. Yeah, and then you need a really sharp shovel in order to complete the deal, because it's so firm. And so you would, in order to generate a hole, first off, you got to be vested. You've got to be somebody that wants to bury this woman's remains. Well, and then you think about, how are you going to know about this area? How are they going to have specific knowledge of this particular location where she is found? And then you have to show up with the right tools, because whoever went out there would know that, okay, I'm not just, I'm not going to, have the shovel here that, I picked up at the local box store, and is hanging on the rack with all the other ones. I'm going to need something hefty, something robust. I'm going to need other tools to break loose this soil. And so that again requires a lot of effort. Can you imagine being out there and you're digging a hole, and could you be seen by the main road? Would somebody see a truck or a car that's out there parked on the side of the road, or was her body removed from the road and then taken many, many yards away from the road, and you got a lone figure out there digging away, working hard? Are you going to do that in the daylight? Well, it's kind of a...
Well, let's remember Jillian Kelly and Veronica Butler. It happened to them in the daylight. Same type of town, where it's you can see as long as the miles, you can see miles and miles away. There's no like mountains. Here there's more trees, but out like, what was it? Where is that case in Idaho? No, it was in Idaho. Now I can't remember where the case was with Jillian and Kelly or Veronica, but was it Utah? You guys will help me out in the chat. I can't think of where it was, but it was like very open space. Do you know, like where you could see? I think that Barry could have parked, if it was Barry, he could have parked his truck on the side and nobody would have saw him. I think that he could have done that. Just like they were diverted onto another side road and most likely hit with the hammer and unalived.
It's not necessarily a robust population around there. Maybe you could get away with it. I have no idea. But I think that someone would have had to have accomplished this probably at nighttime, Dave, in order to facilitate this. But who could have put their hand to the plow, as it were, relative to this to facilitate it. So the fact that they recovered her in this hole and the remains appear to be concentrated around that specific defect, which, by the way, they did in fact identify, they wound up having to recover the remains out there. And another interesting part to this is that they recovered what they believe are animal bones that are out there as well. So you've got this kind of commingling of remains or skeletal remains that are going on. And so that requires not necessarily simply a, I talked about the 5 physicians early on
Right.
that signed off. You're going to have to call in a forensic anthropologist. Matter of fact, I want a forensic anthropologist out there at the site with the agents. I want them conducting the excavation because they're trained to do this. And they're also trained, and this is kind of an amazing feat to me. One of my dear friends is a PhD forensic anthropologist. And that boy could walk down the road and he never looked up. He never looked to the left or the right. You know where he always looked? At the ground. And he could find things just laying on the ground. We were walking across a parking lot one day. He found a matchbox that I didn't see. It was corroded and it had clay on it where they were doing work. Dave, this thing had an image engraved on it of a hunter with a dog. And it turned out the circle of the thing was like 1888. And he just happened to look down and he's seeing this thing. They have forensic anthropologists. We hear about the body farm and all this sort of thing. They are amazing with the way they can, like you and I might see a clod of dirt or a rock. That's not what they see. They see something completely different. And it takes years and years of training in order to appreciate the environment and kind of understand it. But they did recover these remains. And so everything has to be examined. And in the case of Suzanne Morphew, one of the things that would have to take place is that they would try to reconstitute her skeleton on one table. And I guarantee you, Dave, they took pictures of this there. And there's, for those that don't have the actual list in front of them, just bear with me here, be patient. There is actually they collected everything in 3 bags. And they have these things broken down so that they collected in their first sweep, they have collected day 1. There's a day 1 bag, and then there is a second day 1 bag that actually contains the skull. So they've kept the skull separate from whatever it was that they found on the first day. And so on day 2 and 3, they went out and found more remains, which they bagged together. So they wound up with 3 bags of remains. It's commingling of these remains, and you can't really kind of understand that. When you're out there, you have to take it back to a laboratory environment to break everything down. And plus you've got dirt, and they also found wood. And wood, many times, Dave, can actually look like bone. But here's what we came up with. This is kind of the inventory, just so that everybody's on the same sheet of music here. So here we go. We have a skull with a mandible, which is actually the jaw. We have the sacrum, which the sacrum is, it's not, it involves the coccyx, but it's that last destination going down your spine, that big flat bone that is literally, that comprises your tailbone. They got multiple ribs. It's surprising to me many times that they actually find ribs, because animals love these things. So they've got bilateral radius and ulna, which are the 2 bones in the forearm. They've got the manubrium, and they've got the sternum. And of course, the sternum is that plate that covers your heart right in the center of your chest. You can feel yours. They've got the right scapula, which is that kind of wing-shaped bone that's on your back. Okay, so the right one. They've got one of the clavicle, which is your collarbone. They've got the right and left femoral bones. They've also got the right and left tib fib, which are the 2 bones in your lower leg. And then they've got multiple vertebral bodies as well. And here's the kicker, and this is what this leads to, Dave. There was no, and I mean no, soft tissue left. I really thought that what we were going to see was that we were going to have some semblance of soft tissue, because many times, particularly in more of an arid climate like this, you can have natural mummification that takes place, and you'll have soft tissue, the remainder of the skin that'll kind of be dried out and thinly stretched over the skeletal remains. But at the end of the day, the answers are actually going to rest in the bones.
Just to let you know, they find it in the femur. I'm going to cut them off real quick, but they do. I didn't know that that's what they tested. That's where they tested. And I guess they extracted DNA from her kneecap. So there was some stuff, I mean, still available to test to positively identify her. They also found a few of her teeth. I don't know if it was like the full jaw, but they did find the teeth. And then they also found the port for her cancer treatments. So just a side note, if any of y'all try to take me out, you better really take me out, because I got enough bolts and screws in my body that will tell me, that'll tell people where I'm at. Hey, Doodlebug, coming in hot. They are a beautiful family, though. I have to admit that.
There's a lot happening these days.
Easy breathe. 866-822 starts with offering over 3.
And when I say decompose,
affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
when you have a decomposed body, and when I say decomposed, the body is essentially in a state that is, first off, unrecognizable most of the time, is, as you can imagine, is very pungent. It's swollen. Skin is real greasy. You've got skin slippage going on. All of these changes have taken place for a protracted period of time. But the saving grace here, scientifically, is that you still have soft tissue. And even though you might not get tox results from blood, because the blood has gone through such decomposition, what we would do, Dave, many times is take a slice, particularly of the liver. You can do it with the brain too, but with the liver, and you place the liver into that slice of liver into a tube, like a test tube, and you put it on a centrifuge, and you spin it down. You spin it down to the point where it liquefies, and you can draw that up, and you can perform toxicology. And here's another little known fact, that if you think that was bad, the next one I'm about to give you is really bad.
I was thinking, if you start talking about fava beans and candy, I'm really going to lose my credit. You know.
No. I'm going to talk to you about maggots, though, because one of the things that we can do with maggots is, if we can extract maggots from the body, guess what they do? Particularly with opiates and cocaine, they will begin to metabolize those drugs that are contained within the body. If you can collect the maggots, you can spin those down and actually find out what was going on in the system of the deceased. Now, you can get a qualitative amount most of the time, but you're not going to be able to get a quantitative amount. Like that will say, okay, you're in lethal levels, not like blood. So,
but you're still talking about having tissue, right?
Yeah, that's with tissue. And so that's, the 5 physicians that I mentioned just a moment ago,
right?
That's a conundrum here. And let me address this real quick. I know that we're going long on this, but this is a great moment that everybody can learn from. The reason you have 5 physicians on this thing, Dave, is, first off, they're no fools. They know what the heat of the spotlight is like, right? And they're not going to try to put the responsibility off on the others. These guys are physicians. So what they do is they sit around in morning meetings, and I've been in them, and they talk about cases of the day. Dude, they've been talking about this case for a long time at this office. And so what has happened is, can you imagine this? If you ever wrote a report and you didn't just have like one of your colleagues review it, you got 5 reviewing it. And they're going to pick this thing. They're brutal. I mean, they're brutal, and they need to be.
Well, you got to find the truth.
You have to, because you say, I wouldn't have come to this conclusion. But whatever occurred, you've got validation by 5 separate subjects here that are saying, scientifically, we're signing our name on this thing, and we we agree with your diagnosis here.
Then I got to know how they came up with it, because you just went through the whole thing about how we're going to get toxicology reports from a liver that you run through a centrifuge and through skin and blood and things like that. But from everything we're seeing, you started off with the Raiders of the Lost Ark guys going out there and getting the bones.
Right.
That's all we've got. We've got bones, and we do have some clothing, but we don't have any soft tissue. We don't have any tissue. We have nothing other than hard bones, Joe. A skull, a femur. I'm not seeing, I've looked at this whole report. How are you going to get toxicology when all you have are bones?
Okay. Everybody find your hip joint. Okay. Up at the top of your femur. Okay. Where your femur actually fits into that ball and socket. That joint right there, that the head, as it's referred to, the head of the femur, is arguably one of the most robust, dense bones in the body. But guess what else it contains? It has vessels in there. Okay. And so anything that is in there there is a possibility that you can actually, extract data from there, if you will. I know that sounds very computer-like, but data is really what we're looking for. And it's interesting here, kind of backing up just for a second. One of the things that was done, and this is a quote, the right femoral head, femoral fragment and femur head is retained for toxicology testing prior to release for forensic anthropology examination. So what they did, Dave, is given the status of this bone, one of two things happened. Either the head of the femur was fragmented off and they retained it, or, and I've seen this done before, they went to the shaft just beneath the head of the femur and they used a striker saw and they cut the thing right into, and they held on to the entire head of the femur. And if you're holding on to the entire head of the femur, when you begin to test this thing, because it's a destructive test. People talk about destructive and non-destructive. This is a destructive test. So you want the biggest opportunity of sample at that point in time. So,
and that's because once you ruin it, you don't get to put it back together.
Baby. It's gone, baby. It's gone. And so that's apparently what they did here. They retained that, and then they turned everything over to the forensic anthropologist. So they would have had a sit down with a forensic anthropologist, say, listen, we did this to the bone. I don't want you to think that some kind of dismemberment has taken place or anything like that. And there is a forensic anthropologist that's actually mentioned in the autopsy report, and it would have been their job to examine the bone. So they're examining essentially a headless femur or fragmented a femur that has been extracted. It was fragmented, and they try to contain everything. But how do we get to this point? Well, what has to happen is, essentially, I'm going to try to put this in as simplest terms as possible. They take a solid sample of bone and they will drop it into a tube, and they're essentially going to bombard this thing and use a methodology that's called ASE. It's called accelerated solvent extraction. And the idea is to bring out as much of the content of that bone that can be analyzed. And they're going to throw this thing into a mass spec machine, mass spectrometry, to take a look and see what they can find in there. Because there's certain base elements you're going to find in bone. And we always hear about this. You need to, eat plenty of calcium, and you have calcium in your diet and all this. You're going to expect to find minerals like that. But what you're not going to expect to find is animal tranquilizer. And in this particular case, hold on to your hat, that's what they found in the head of this femur. So
also, I was looking into that today, and I'm pretty positive you have to be a veterinarian to even prescribe it. Like, it's something that you can't get at your local Tractor Supply company, like I thought.
I cannot imagine. I can only imagine.
I'm going to look into
right
this
now,
medication
because
more.
this, again, you've got a doctoral level forensic toxicologist at the state crime lab that's involved in this now. And I can just imagine they're sitting there in their lab, they're in their white lab coat, This thing has been taken to the state lab. The forensic toxicologist is sitting there, and they had like this, all of a sudden this clarity came upon when they began to read this test, and they were like, holy smokes, look what's contained. I think there are people out there that would like to know this information. Immediately they're picking up the phone. The 5 doctors, they're calling the 5 doctors at this point in time, say, hold on a minute, Hoss. We've got something to tell you that you're not going to believe. We're going to send the full report, but I got to tell you, just over the phone, this is a gigantic piece of information, because, Dave, the compound that we're talking about here is used in tranquilizer darts
For
to
animals.
literally sedate animals. What was it you told me about? What one of the compounds? There's essentially, I think, 6 compounds in here.
Yeah.
One of the compounds you said something about a large animal.
Dude, I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say
No,
dude.
please.
This really, I don't even know how to pronounce this thing. Okay. But it's a sedative. I
Who
looked it
said
up.
dude?
It's a sedative commonly used for pigs and elephants.
Pigs and elephants. Elephants are huge and pigs are wild.
Who is going to ingest a sedative for pigs and elephants when you can find human ones not far away?
Yeah. It's certainly, it's certainly intriguing, I think, from an investigative standpoint. And I think, Dave, the one that you're actually referring to here is the azaprone, which is actually, it's used. Okay, let me paint this picture for you.
Please.
Imagine
you got to help me understand it, Joe, because this has really messed with my head in the last couple of hours.
Well, just imagine you've got a charging elephant coming at you, but you don't want to kill the elephant. All right. Now, it's certainly going to take a higher dose, say, for instance, than if you were shooting, I don't know, raccoons or squirrels or foxes in your backyard. But it has been used to sedate elephants, Dave. And so it's not just that. It doesn't simply just kind of stand alone. There are other elements to this compound that all mix in, and every single one of them has something to do with sedation, anti-anxiety, all these sorts of things. So if you hit somebody up, say for instance, with this substance, they're pretty quickly, they're going to get weak-kneed, David. They're going to get to the point where they're not going to be able to function. If anyone out there has ever had anesthesia, that first burst of drugs that they give you to kind of get you ready for surgery,
That's
where
the
you
best
kind of get
part.
that milky, warm feeling. It's one of the best feelings in the world.
It is the best feeling in the world, Joseph Scott Morgan.
You don't care about anything else. There's no anxiety.
You don't care about
You're
anything.
going to go through that, and then all of a sudden, because of these other compounds that are in here, when you mix them together, darkness is going to wash over you. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it, because it's in your system. Your body begins to metabolize this thing. You're uptaking this stuff, and it's hard to know. I know that there can be a lethal level with these substances. I think that more is going to come out, because look, we still don't have the toxicology report at this point. We don't even have the anthropology report. All we have is this 4-page report that was issued from the medical examiner, to all interested parties. There's going to be a lot more of this to come. But they, not only did they recover bones out there, they've got remnant of clothing as well that's found in this grave with Suzanne Morphew. And it's, a lot of it is kind of fragmented and ragged. But what really struck me, Dave, was the fact that they found a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
They found a bullet out there. So what sense do we make of this? Can we actually appreciate a gunshot wound in bone? Possibly, But here's the rub. It has to have passed through a bony structure and have left a fracture that would have occurred not post-mortem but ante-mortem, and they can suss that out. They can actually make sense of that. And can you tie that projectile back to a very particular weapon? Because here's another thing that wasn't mentioned. We don't know what the caliber is. We only know that we've got a weathered projectile that is found there in the dirt adjacent to this woman's body that is now skeletonized with tattered clothing. And she's got tranquilizers in her in the head of her femur.
She's got 4 different types, Joe. And the bullet. Those 2 things come to mind because you found the cap for the needle that's used in a dart gun. They found that in the dryer. And by the way, Barry Morphew said he did that. He used these tranquilizers for deer, that he would shoot them so that he could harvest their antlers. I'd never heard that before, but that's the kind. That's why they found the cap in the dryer. It must have just been in my pocket. Of course, that doesn't explain anything else. But they also found the bullet next to the bed.
Down in these parts,
yes,
good old boys put on their boots and their blue jeans. They go walking through the woods. You can find racks just laying on the ground if you know where to look, and you're looking for rub on the tree and all that sort of thing. But you're telling me you're going to tranquilize a deer, which I think out there they have mule deer, which are bigger than our white-tailed deer. I guess they have white-tail too.
I guess.
And you're going to what are you going to do? Take a saw and saw it off their head?
I don't know.
I've never heard this. I heard it, when these initial reports came out. But I'm fascinated by this because we've got the we've got the elements that go along with this thing. But Bubba, we've got this doggone round that's out there. I want to know what the caliber is. And also the status of the round. Is it deformed in any way? Did it pass through multiple bony structures in the body? Is it a round that could have been a hollow point that mushroomed? Is it a tiny round? I don't know, like a 25 caliber, a 380, or a 22 caliber. I'd be very fascinated by that. I'd want to know. Or is it a rifle round? If it's a rifle round, it's going to be kind of robust. 7.62 perhaps, or less so, 5.56. I want to know, what this round was. And what type of weapon was it fired from? And also, if you've got a projectile, to me, that means that they used a metal detector out there. How big a sweeping area did you cover out there when you're doing your search all over the place? Did you recover a spent casing? If it's a spent casing, then we automatically know that this is a semi-automatic handgun, if it is a handgun. And it ejected, didn't find it. But if it's a revolver, that means that whoever fired this projectile walked away with the spent casing still contained in the cylinder of that revolver. And that's one of the things that you're looking for here. I think that there's a lot more to come on this case, David. But I don't know if it offers anybody really any peace. I think that maybe we might be a bit less confused, but I know this. It seems as though that when her body, Suzanne Morphew, her body was removed from that hole in the ground in that hard soil, with her came some answers, but also a mountain of questions. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bag.
Well, we listened to a whole episode. So the full autopsy but it wasn't, toxicology and everything was released. It was released on Monday, and she had like 3 different medications in her system. Beautiful Aspironol. You know I can pronounce these. Aspiron and metatotamine. And they're for like sedation, basically tranquilizers. I know the warm feeling you get whenever they like he was talking about. I was like, I don't know that feeling. Let me put down all these banners. I got like a million. There I am. I'm like, oh, there I am. But I think that's all I really have for you for tonight. I have some other stuff I want to show you guys about this case, and I want to like dig it deeper. But there is a lot to this case. There is a lot. But I feel like we have a good timeline kind of settled down, so we can like dig into more stuff. We have to write out how many animals that Barry has talked about, and we got to get a T-shirt made with all the animals on there, and put like a little cow. We got chipmunks. We got elk. We got cats. We have everything but a cat and a dog, like a regular animals that you keep inside. Either way, Barry is a huge ball of illegal. Yeah, he really is. And when I was reading if you read just the arrest affidavit, you almost kind of side with Barry a little bit, because if you just read that, like, well, the background part that we read, it's like there was DNA there that wasn't his, and like all of this and that. But I'm like, you read a little deeper, and then you see what's going on. But a crossword or word search. Hey, taxi, welcome in. Oh, you're welcome. That's Joseph Scott Morgan. He's usually on with Nancy Grace. That's Ashley's man. What kind of crosswords do you guys want? Oh, we could do that. Oh, we could do like a bingo card. Like that. Yeah, Ashley, that's a good idea. Let's do a little bingo or something. I think we have enough animals. And then we can even do like a bonus. That sounds like a good idea. I should have Vincent set that up first. He's good at that, like tedious work. I'll be like, hey, you want to set us up a bingo card? He'll be like, sure. Sure, why not? But yeah, so the last picture was their home, and I guess it was like 4,000 square feet. I said it was 10,000. Either way, it was huge. I'm glad that they found Suzanne finally. I mean, it was over 3 years by the time they found her. They found her September 22nd last year. They finally just got the autopsy to us. Like, that's insanity. Well, thank you for becoming a member again there, Taxi. You play to play. I pay to play. So yeah, Jessica, I'm covering all the cases, all of them, pretty much. We cover a lot of cases on this channel. We've been covering Sebastian Rogers, but we're taking a step back there because it's a little out of hand. We usually stream once a week, maybe Sebastian content. I think we did it like twice this month, but we do keep up on that cases when we can. It's not so crazy. Who else are we covering? Brian Koberger, Chad Doerman. I'm looking through my list here. Rachel Morin, the Kansas City moms that were found. We were covering that case, still covering it. They're going to court. Stephen Stearns, he's going to court, but he's not showing up. The Madeline Soto case. Charles is that one's kind of closed. Leilani Simon. Who else we got here? I should have just looked at my playlist. Suzanne, Idaho, Rachel Morin, Maddie Soto, Audrey Cunningham, Elijah Vu, Madalena Kojikari, Preston Lord. We did Ruby Frankie, Delphi, which we'll be back on that. Gilgo Beach, Crystal Rogers. I think these are the active ones right now. That was Caitlin Armstrong. She's done. She's in jail. Lindsay Shiver. We have a couple other ones too. And Chelsea Grimm is a missing person that we cover. Caleb Harris. Yeah, Tammy, that was one. I try to cover them all. I really do. Because as much as I can. Because we try to get the word out. We really try to get the word out. We try to keep it factual here. I mean, we do speculate. Everyone speculates, but there's a good way to do it. And then, a not so good way. And some of the people are not doing it a good way. Speaking of not doing it in a good way, before I get off here, I'm just going to tell you about something that happened with the Sebastian Rogers case. So our good buddy, SF, like we like SF over here. I talked to him actually today, but I didn't hear this part. He is leaving Twitter until Sebastian Rogers' case is done and over with, he said. He's not even an investigator in the case, but he is he's a missing persons investigator. He looks for missing persons. He's part of the SAR team. Like, he knows all that kind of stuff. So I looked to him for like answers almost and guidance, because he'll have like all these charts like for different, like if the kid was like autistic, this is where they could be, based on like all of these different things that he puts in there. But even he is quitting. So how is everybody quit? I mean, everyone's quitting. We need another list for Sebastian Rogers' case. Who has quit? You, Vlad, the Cajun Nation Navy, the YouTubers that were out there running amok, PIs, Katie Proudfoot. We haven't seen her. She is the smartest one. She's just staying in the bushes. Man. Oh, thanks, Jessica. Yeah, we do pretty good coverage here, I would like to say. Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying though. Half the nights I'm stumbling over my words, like, what did I just say? But it works out. It works out. Yeah, PI Heather Ayers. Yeah, everybody. And welcome in, Aries. Oh, Aries, I saw that video. I was going to cover that case actually on the channel. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? I saw that kid on the treadmill and I'm like, there ain't a day in my life that I would be able to keep up with that, let alone a child. Yeah, Jessica, I know. I'm glad I found you too. I was just cruising. I was like, oh, look at this. You have to check out Jessica's channel. She has a really good channel. Very factual. A lot of pre-recordeds. I noticed that. I want to do more pre-recordeds over here. I do a little, but I used to do like 1 or 2 a week, and I missed that. The kind of Sebastian case has me flabbergasted. Yeah. Like, it's weird. You've got Chris talking. You got Seth talking. You got Katie not talking. I don't know. I'm still thinking it's a bully situation. I think some kids bullied him. I think something like that happened. I don't know. That's what I'm just going to hold out hope he's okay. And that's him in the North Carolina photo. But if someone just had him like all willy-nilly, they wouldn't want to be caught like by the police having this kid. This kid is missing. You know what I mean? Like, who would go through the lengths of doing that other than, a crazy grandmother that we know? But really, like, if I had like Ashley, let's say Ashley had a kid and I was keeping her child from her, like, or for her, like away from everybody, like say that Katie passed Sebastian off to somebody, I for surely, if I saw the news and Ashley's kids are flashing on my screen and they're like missing child, I'm not going to just be like, hey, Ashley, I'm going to keep your kid even though she's missing. I would be going, you think, to the police. You think a third party is involved too, Aries? I do. I think that, I think it might be like where he met some friends at school. And then maybe these friends, they weren't really friends and they convinced him to sneak out in the middle of the night. Maybe they told him not to wear shoes or something. They were all going to go do something fun with no shoes. I don't know. But maybe they were going to like beat him up. Something bad happened. I don't know. I don't know what happened though. Oh, I didn't solo. Oh yeah, let me see. Oh, let me see. What appointment is it? She has one coming up. Oh, yes. Prayers, of course. Oh. And would be a good candidate. That's good. Oh, man. Actually, prayers for her. She's strong. She's strong. You'd be like, hey, you have this kid. I have this kid. I'm not going to jail for you, Ashley. Yeah. Or I'd say, Vincent, get my bail money ready. Like, if I'm keeping this kid, I'm going to need some bail money. I just don't see someone doing that. But then again, I don't know. But yeah, SF's like, I'm out. Like he's quitting Twitter. I'm like, oh my lordy, everyone's quitting. Very weird. Half my town hid my runaway teen daughter and lied. What? Really, Solo? Oh my lord. How'd you find her? You look like the type you would roll up at someone's house and go get your child too. You wouldn't even care. You'd be like, I'm coming. And you're in trouble. Yeah, I feel bad for all of them too, Jessica. I think that we all kind of were looking at all of, I think with me, there for a little while, I felt like I was taken up for Chris because everyone was going after him and they were like siding with Seth, even though I can see where Seth's coming from because he looks so distraught and sad. But then you go, I don't know. It's like they're all weird. Everyone's weird, except for Sebastian in that case. Everybody. I mean, the investigators, I'm talking about the people they brought in, the PIs, the spokespeople, all of that, the people that they've all brought in, not the police. They're all weird. Y'all are weird. Stop doing the mostest. Stop going on Pascal's show. We don't love to see you on there. We don't love it. We don't want other creators to have to say to you, what that creator say? Send a $20 super chat to Pascal just to tell Seth, I went out there to look for your son, but you wouldn't talk to me. But don't worry, I went ahead and looked for him anyway. I'm like, way to get a shout out for yourself. What the heck? Like, who does that? Oh, that's okay. Oh no, I didn't get to hear that. I wanted to hear that. Really? It's good? Illuminati was good. I wanted to listen to that interview. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. Because no, I like Illuminati. I think she's very to the point too, and I like that. And she's not on his side. Like, she's more, if anything, she's kind of I think taken up for the underdog almost too. Like, I'm one of those people, if someone's getting treated badly and there's no proof that they've done anything, then I'm an empath. I just feel bad. Really, Jessica? I'm gonna watch that then, because more people need to watch that side. I feel like both of the men could have a little bit of anger issues, but look what they're going under. They're under right now. Like, that pressure. And then to be a man, it's probably even like a different pressure, because they probably want to be the one to find them. It's just like probably almost like, I don't know, not competitive, but competitive at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, they both are for the same goal, but I think that they're both going about getting that goal wrong. Like, they should be together, form together, unite. I don't think they need a spokesperson that isn't a legit PR or whatever spokesperson. Like, this guy is Caleb Harris's dad's friend, coworker. Like, what is going on with these cases? But I think I'm going to jump off here, but I'm going to check it out, Stephanie. Yeah. Jessica, I'm going to check it out, because I do like Illuminati. I think she's very relaxed. Very, like, to the point. You know what I mean? Like, she gets to the point. I like that about her. So, wow. Well, I said when Chris left and Katie went with him, I said I would leave too. If JLR was driving past my house, or CJ, or any of those guys, like, she was going to be there by herself because, he has to go back to work. They have to, have money coming in. I would have left too. I would. Honestly, the whole case doesn't make sense. Yeah. I thought, wow, Now, I wonder if that's the neighbor that called into that other channel. People are calling into channels. I'm going to get a voice changer, and I'm going to do a whole live without my screen on. I'm going to have two little panels, and it's going to be a different picture in the other one. And we'll see if I can get you guys. I am. Oh, it's the blinds. I'm like, what is that noise? I don't know why it's. Oh, it's because I have a fan right there. I'm like, why is it moving? Never mind. Y'all, I'm going nuts. Okay, well, I'm going to jump off here. It's getting late, but we were on here for over 2 hours tonight. I've been cutting them down to like an hour and a half. So we were on here for a little while. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you guys don't mind. I'll be back tomorrow night. I'll be back tomorrow night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll see you guys all there. Have a good day. Have a good appointment tomorrow. Ashley will boo. I'm praying for and thinking of her. I hope you guys all have a great evening. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow night. Bye, guys.